Hello and welcome to the Rotoworld Player News Q&A. It's Monday. It's noon. I'm Eric Samulski. He's James Schiano. We're here to answer all your fantasy baseball questions as we do every Monday at noon. We've got baseball on already, James, which will be interesting because, we love doing these at noon because we like to help people set lineups. And obviously some lineup decisions already had to be made. We've got a 2-1 Red Sox lead in the bottom of the third here on Patriots Day.
Patriots Day is always a fun little, silly day in the fantasy baseball calendar. That's very easy to forget because it's after the early season forever kind of fades a little bit. So you might be starting to get a teeny bit lazy with the lineup decisions, and then you check your lineup on Monday at 12:30. You're like, oh no, it's Patriots Day.
Yeah, who was it that got absolutely shellacked?
I think it was Giolito.
It was Giolito, right?
Giolito gave him 9 runs. Also weird. It was White Sox, Red Sox, and it was on a Patriots Day, and his ERA was in the 5s for 2 months after that.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that was rough. And now Giolito, a couple weeks away from being activated for the Red Sox. Hopefully, if his arm holds up, all that kind of stuff. We're going to jump in with some questions. I'm starting with this question from DVS. It's Vincent, who asked this of me on Twitter, but he wanted your opinion, and he's not going to be in the stream for all that long. So he got this question in early on. The Gavin Williams question is he wants to know if it's too soon to cut bait on Gavin Williams, which we can talk about as a separate question. His specific question is that he got offered Tobias Myers for Gavin Williams in a league where he has a really strong pitching staff. Garrett Crochet, Logan Gilbert. It must be. I'm hoping this is a keeper league. Garrett Crochet, Logan Gilbert, Spencer Schwellenbach, Spencer Strider, Brian Wu, Bryce Miller, Kodai Senga, Drew Rasmussen, just tons of starters. He said Williams and Myers are really not main cogs. They're just back end pieces. But he's scared that Williams will have zero value at all if he gets bombed by the Yankees tonight. I told him that I'm not cutting bait on Gavin Williams for Tobias Myers. If I'm cutting bait on Gavin Williams, I'm cutting bait on him for somebody who has equally high upside.
Yeah.
My opinion also is only amplified by the fact that he has all those guys in the starting rotation. Is he doesn't need a Tobias Myers. He's rarely ever going to start Tobias Myers over those guys. He's going to start Gavin Williams if it clicks for Gavin Williams. So I'd rather a bench starting pitcher be a high upside starting pitcher rather than a guy like Tobias Myers, who's probably more valuable in a 15-team league.
Yeah, I agree with that take. It's also this week, looking at Gavin Williams and trying to make these decisions, having a lot of teams with Gavin Williams on them. You see a 2-start week, cool, time to give Gavin Williams a shot. You see Yankees and you see Red Sox, you're why is this lined up the way it is? But I think thinking about Gavin Williams right now and his value, in context of what's gone on this season, I think about a guy like Kumar Rocker this weekend where you see a guy pitching all year and you're I know you're better than this, but it's not as much as a skill or functional issue. It's more of a pitch mix and just repertoire issue. And for some reason, Kumar Rocker's not throwing death balls, his deep slider. But then suddenly starts against the Angels, he throws 45 of them. He throws 15 of every other pitch. So you can do that. So I know for a fact that even if Gavin Williams gets bombed by the Yankees, even if he gets bombed by both the Yankees and the Red Sox, he's not leaving that rotation. He will get times to start. I think also last year the Hunter Brown situation could teach us a lot about how useless a bad start can actually be and what it could mean for the rest of the season, as long as there are material changes that happen. And the second that Gavin Williams decides to throw his cutter again, for whatever reason he may not be doing it right now, I'm confident there's a top 40 pitcher there, and that's kind of with that when he makes that pitch mix change. So again, I don't think I would trade him for Tobias Myers, especially given your staff right now, DVS. And I also think that I would just be looking at him intently. If he got dropped in your 10-team league, even if the day he's pitching, even if you have the roster spot and you don't even feel like streaming him these starts against the Red Sox and Yankees, just pick him up just in case the good start happens, because it can change on a dime for a pitcher like that this early in the season. I think that's where we're at with Gavin Williams, while understanding it is bad right now. And if you do have to drop him in a shallower league, that's not the end of the world either.
And if you were going to trade him for a bat or something, I just don't think your team needs a Tobias Myers. If you need a bat, fine. Also, in a few leagues, I did start Gavin Williams for the 2-start this week. I'm nervous about the Yankees, and maybe I'm just a cynical Red Sox fan who watched too much of this White Sox series. But that's a Red Sox offense that gets itself out a lot. Misses a lot of hittable pitches. They're striking out way too much. And he gets them on a Sunday. And so, or he's lined up to face them on Sunday. And that's always there's always one or two veterans who get that Sunday off because it's usually a day game after a night game. Mm-hmm. And with the Red Sox, there was a really great tweet that came out today. That was basically like, on those games, the Red Sox offense is abysmal because they're either sitting one of like Devers or Duran or Story. And I think in those games, they've scored like 2 runs, 3 runs, 2 runs, 4 runs. Like the offense isn't putting up runs when they don't have their deep lineup in there. So listen, I'm crossing my fingers that Gavin Williams just doesn't get lit up today, but who knows?
Yeah, definitely possible.
Yes. Dad is in the chat, and Dad asks a question tailor-made for you, James, because you recorded a video on this yesterday, or at least one of these guys.
Yeah.
Where are you on the panic meter for Aaron Nola and Zach Gallen?
I might say something a little crazy. I think borderline might be panicking a little bit more about Gallen than Nola, because at least with Nola, we see this, not to be like hyperbolic, but almost every single year with him, where April and sometimes the first half of May are a bit of a struggle because it seems like it takes him a little bit of time to build up and get his velocity in check to where he likes it to be, which is between 92 and 93 miles an hour. Right now, he's sitting between 90 and 91 with the fastball and the sinker. So that's something that it doesn't sound like a big change, but you're on the razor's edge of major league velocity when you're throwing 90 mile an hour fastballs. And if you're there, like any hitter can react to that at any given moment, especially with a guy like Nola, who is a command guy, but the command will always kind of wax and wane. Whereas I look at Gallen right now, and I'm seeing a pitcher that's not only losing legitimate life on his fastball, he still has great hop and carry on that pitch, but he's always had a lot of natural cut, like that good cut ride fastball we hear about, and that kind of made Nola Gallen's fastball always play up a lot, the 93, like, which is still fine, but we're seeing him go away from his knuckle curveball, which I can't, similar to the Kumar Rocker conversation, similar to the Gavin Williams conversation, that's the worrisome factor for me. And with Gallen, more so than those other guys, he's getting very inconsistent movement at that pitch relative to what it's been years past. It has been a very up and down pitch for him, but now you're seeing more horizontal movement on it. And I think it's an execution problem because it's not like it's moving more horizontally seemingly every single time or intentionally, but he's just had a much more inconsistent movement profile with that pitch. And similar to now, we just talked about Williams and Rocker, he's gone away from that pitch. I think it was 2 starts ago now. He threw more changeups and knuckle curveballs. And that wasn't even against a particularly lefty heavy lineup, but also not even a thing that he would have to, because knuckle curve plays great against players on both sides of the plate. So like, it seems to me like there's an execution problem happening with Gallen as he's losing life on his fastball. So just there might be something that he's working against himself and his body. We've always kind of had this feeling with Gallen the last few years that he's run away from serious injury. Like he's found ways to avoid the forearm strain. He's taken time off. He's heavily exerts himself in his starts. He has big wide velocity bands. If I had to buy low on one of these guys, I think it would be Nola, because I think I just trust the body of work a little bit. Even though Gallen's body of work is still good, he always winds up being good at the end of the season. Stats are always fine, both of these guys. But I'm just seeing more inconsistency out of Gallen, where Nola, I'm just like, if the fastball velocity does snap back to where it's always been, I'm totally confident again.
I ranked Nola higher coming into the year than Gallen. I had Gallen like in the mid 40s. I was not really high on Gallen coming into the year, so I'm with you on that. Like I would much rather have Aaron Nola on my team.
Yeah.
Also, the team context is slightly better, even though they're both on solid teams.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like Zach Gallen is somebody who I don't love pitchers who he has to work low in the zone. With the fastball low in the zone and the breaking balls under the zone, because he relies so much on the tunneling of his pitches in order for those pitches to be successful. And so that always, and he gave up a lot of hard contact. Like his ICR, his ideal contact rate, that pitcherless stat, which I like because it's not just barrels, it's barrels plus hard ground balls and things of that nature. He's given up a lot of hard contact, and so I just think the margin for error was much slimmer with him. And so I'm more worried about Gallen than Nola as well. Brian is a little worried about Ellie De La Cruz being way off the steals pace of last year, and is wondering if Ellie De La Cruz should be hitting first in the batting order. I'm just going to say no on hitting first. I can't have a dude who strikes out 32% of the time as my leadoff hitter. I can't do it. That's, to me, that's just like that's not how you start a lineup off. Also, I want him to have the opportunity to drive guys in. And so hitting second allows me to do that. And then him being on base also allows the middle of the order guy. Like, I just think he is much better suited as a number 2 hitter. He has 7 steals in 22 games. Like, I'm not super worried about his
kind of on base.
I get that last year he stole 67 bases. I think anytime somebody steals near 70 bases, we have to assume that's going to drop to something closer to like 50 in the next season, just because that's the natural order of things, right? Like, I think saying that a guy is a perennial 70 steal hitter is tough. Also, he's not getting on base as much.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of the strikeout issue. The walk rate is never going to be super high. The Reds offense is scuffling a little bit early on. So I'm not worried about his stolen base output. I'm not worried about him at all, but yeah, he's not a leadoff hitter to me.
Yeah. I mean, last year he did the 340 on base. The 340 on base, even with the strikeout rate, you're still encroaching on leadoff hitter territory. But I still think it's better for both him and the Reds for him to hit second because the power. There's just that lineup is bad. There's not a better hitter in it, which is crazy because Ellie hasn't even been that good this year. But it is funny to think about like on pace, but you see like the 67 last year. He has 7 steals, 12% the way through the season. It's like a 59 stolen base pace. That's very on pace. And same with the 5 homers already. Like if he still goes 30, 50, that's still one of the best seasons that we've seen in fantasy in the last decade. I think that's something that Ellie is still super on pace for. There are so many things to be worried about with this Reds team right now. That's funny. I can't even consider getting close to Ellie. Like it just feels like he will get. And this is him doing this too without the hot streaks. These guys like Ellie, Julio Rodriguez does this. Just a lot of the guys that have pervasive swing and miss in their game, but with the gaudy tools, like you're more prone to a cold streak just because you're not doing as many little things to keep yourself not cold when things are bad. Like just hitting more balls in play that can find the hole. Ellie does walk a good bit more than some of those other guys I mentioned, but it's just there's going to be a supernova streak sometime in the next 6 weeks before Memorial Day, and then you're going to be like, nice. I love Ellie De La Cruz.
Especially in that park too.
Yes.
We got a Twitch question. As a reminder, you can ask us questions on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube. Get the questions in wherever you want. Which pitcher would you rather have, Mitchell Parker or Logan Allen? To me, this is a very easy answer. It's Mitchell Parker, and it's because Logan Allen has a 5% swinging strike rate on the season. I can't roster a pitcher who quite literally cannot miss a bat. I mean, a 5% swinging strike rate is so horribly low. I can't do it. Mitchell Parker has a league average swinging strike rate. He has 3 pitches that have the ability to miss bats, at least at an average level. And so I don't think Mitchell Parker is great. I don't think we're in for a breakout, but I would just rather trust a pitcher who can go to something to miss bats versus somebody who can't miss bats with anything.
Yeah, one of my toxic traits in fantasy baseball is that I love a big lefty that's trying to figure it out, that's got swing and miss stuff. And I've been lucky to cover Mitchell Parker. I think his last 2 starts on my recap shifts, and it's a fun little mix right now. But with that splitter and curveball kind of moving and like more exaggerated versions of each other, but both like very much vertically. Like I see guys getting swings and misses against hitters from both sides of the plate. He always, as a big lefty, is trying to like wrangle his mechanics. There is a lot of inconsistency with his command, and I think that's something that he's going to deal with until he probably even gets a little bit older. Like I still don't think we're going to see even close to the best version of Mitchell Parker this year, but I think he's kind of cemented himself as a major league starting pitcher. And I'm impressed by how many of these kinds of guys the Nationals have converted in the last year. Like how much better their starting pitching depth seems now than it did something like 18 months ago, before a lot of these guys turned themselves into legitimate back-end mid-rotation starter types. Parker, Hers, Jake Irvin, of course, Mackenzie Gore taking the step. It's kind of encouraging to see, if you're a fan of that team, that how well they've been able to turn those guys into major league regulars.
Yeah. I agree. Not a big lefty here, but a lefty. Are you buying into Andrew Abbott's decent start to the season? By decent, we also mean tremendous.
Yeah.
Allowed 2 runs on 4 hits in 11 innings and 2 starts with 16 walks and 16 strikeouts and 3 walks. James, are you buying it?
I'm buying a little bit. I don't know. I've always been a little bit anti Andrew Abbott because I just think that doesn't. I don't know. It's never made a lot of sense to me because it's just a profile I don't like, where it's a fastball with a tremendous shape, but it's not it's 91 miles an hour, and winds up always being a predominantly fly ball pitcher in one of the probably the worst or second worst ballpark for fly balls in all of baseball. So with that, like if you're not now he's getting the strikeouts, but it was always a middling strikeout rate with tons of fly balls in a bad park. I'm just like, I can't take a shot on this because the blow up will come. There will be a 9-earned run starter for Andrew Abbott soon, and I just don't want him to be in my lineup if that happens. But while understanding that maybe there is a material change here, he does look like a solid pitcher right now, and a deep league kind of guy.
Yeah, look, I wrote about Andrew Abbott in my waiver column, which comes out on Sundays. I will probably write about him, I think, in my Wednesday starting pitcher news column. The fastball velocity, 91.1 miles an hour in the last start. He was around 93 last year. So that's down 2 miles an hour. I don't love that. No. I don't love that he pitches in Great American Ballpark. So right off the bat, those are two things that are hard for me to overcome. What I do like is that he seemed to add arm side run to his changeup this year and is leaning into the changeup a lot more. And it was really effective in that start against the Orioles. He had a 47% CSW with it, had 9 whiffs on the changeup. So I like the new movement profile on the changeup. I like the usage on the changeup. I also like the new movement profile on the curveball. He's dropped drop on the curveball, so he has made it a little bit more, has made it less vertical, but that means it tunnels a little better with the sweeper. So he's using the sweeper is about 2 miles an hour faster. So they just work a little bit better in tandem than the way the curveball did last year. Yeah. So I like those two changes. I don't like the other two things I mentioned, which means I'm probably always going to just be like a shoulder shrug on Andrew Abbott. In a good matchup, I would run him out there. Like, I would not use him in Coors this week.
No, definitely not. That's a good tip with that changeups. Because there's, I don't know, lefties with good changes will never really go out of style. But it's a strange pairing to have this like high riding fastball with that changeup. Like that's not something we see from a lot of left-handed pitchers. Like I can't even think of another guy with that archetype off the top of my head because not many lefties even have a fastball like this. It's weird. He's a strange pitcher, and I'm with you in the shoulder shrug. I'm just like for some reason I can never get all the way in. I think I'm always going to be a low guy at Abbott. I find myself being okay with that.
Yeah, but me too. If I miss out, I miss out. That's okay. That's kind of like when I missed out on Chase Dollander in the first waiver period. Yeah. It's like Reds pitchers and Rockies pitchers are always guys where I'm going to be like, I need to see something that could be special, like Hunter Green. Versus like, oh yeah, I'll take a shot on Nick Martinez, or I'll take a shot on, Andrew Abbott, guys like that. I don't know. I can't do it.
I do that with Red Sox pitchers too. It's like you have to cross a different threshold for now you to be acceptable because you're working against external factors that other pitchers just simply don't have to. I think on the sleeper of the bus when Dollander got called up, Paul Sporer was like, I mean, Coors it's undefeated. Like you're never going to get past that ballpark. And he got smoked this weekend, Dollander at home, even though he had one good start in the row and then one okay start at home. It's just, that's always going to happen with guys in that team.
Yeah. And he plays the Royals in Kansas City this week. So we'll see.
Probably do great. Yeah.
Probably do great. We got another Twitch question. What's one to do in an AL only head to head with Christian Walker and Marcus Semien? Just ride it out. I suppose I am sitting on Nick Kurtz. Yeah, look, in an AL only league, you're riding it out with Christian Walker and Marcus Semien, in my opinion. It's just too deep a format. You're obviously not going to drop them. So if you wanted to see if people were interested, I'd probably rather I guess I'm more a believer in Christian Walker for the season than
easily
Marcus Semien because of age and regression. So if you want to see if somebody's willing to take Semien, but like, do you have a second base replacement? Are you going to get one from somebody? Like it's tough out there. I'm not trading Marcus Semien if my second base replacement is, Edward Julian. Like I just can't. I would need something a little more substantial than that. So it's tough in those formats.
Ironically, these guys are the exact same age, which I honestly can't believe. But
yeah, it's wild to me.
Yeah, it's both 34 years old. I've been a preeminent drop Marcus Semien in shallow leagues guy. It just seems like there's not that much there at all anymore. And even if something still winds up there, like you're holding on for a 700 OPS and 10 homers and 10 steals, maybe. I mean, that's like what you're looking at upside probably for Marcus Semien rest of the season. And that just doesn't play in any 10-team league and a lot of 12-team leagues either. So I think that's where we're at with him. But in a mono league, they're never going to bench him. He has 4 years left on this contract, which I'm sure they're kind of terrified of at the given moment. At least Walker, you're seeing like real things happening. Like he hits the ball very hard still, but he's still swinging and missing a ton. And Walker basically didn't have a spring training. So these first 3 weeks of the season are kind of spring training-ish for him. I'm sure that's been a bear to get his timing going. And I think that while at least he's hitting the ball hard. Semien's not hitting the ball hard. I think that this is now 2 years consecutively. It's Marcus Semien looking dreadful, old, slow. It's not a good recipe right now. I don't know. Again, mono league, of course, he's playing every single day. You can't do anything there. But if someone's willing to buy low on him and give you 50 cents on the dollar, I might be willing to do that.
Yeah, you just gotta. Again, mono leagues, you have to get somebody who you know is going to play all the time. That can be
who's the worst second baseman you trade Marcus Semien for right now in a mono league?
Oh man. Well, let's pull it up because there's always going to be like
I'm trying to think
somebody where I'm like, oh, that guy plays second base.
Like Jonathan India for Marcus Semien. That's a smash accept, right?
No,
you would take Semien over India still?
I would. I don't love what Jonathan India is doing. And I didn't like the ballpark for him also. And so I don't think that there's a lot of upside there.
Yeah. I guess they're both so
here sorted by weighted runs created plus. AL only, guys with at least, let's say, 40 plate appearances on the season. Well, you got Kyron Paris. I'm not trading Marcus Semien for Kyron Paris because I think the Kyron Paris train is going to become Zach Geloff as a best case scenario. Dylan Moore's next. We've seen Dylan Moore do this a bunch. Like I'm not buying into that Dylan Moore is a different player right now. He goes through hot stretches. Christian Campbell. Yeah, I'll take Christian Campbell for Marcus Semien. Yeah. Gabriel Arias. Massive swing and miss issues. Power. Playing every day. Are you taking Gabriel Arias for Marcus Semien? I don't know that I can do it.
I don't know that I can either, but I would probably think harder about it than I should because it's so bad Semien right now. Like I don't know. Again, mono league, his upside plays much more because you're just gonna compile stats. Where a guy like Arias, he could easily lose playing time within a month. It wouldn't be a surprise at all.
Are you more worried about Marcus Semien or I guess Jordan Westburg has 4 home runs?
Oh, that's Jordan Westburg by miles.
Off to a bad start and is battling an upper body injury, which they're like sometimes resting him and sometimes not. And I'm like, is he hurt? I don't understand.
I mean, I think that's a definite. It's a Brandon Lowe's also every single American League shortstop's off to a terrible. I mean, second baseman's off to a terrible start. Every single one of these guys.
Literally, the top 5 AL second basemen by weighted runs created plus are Kyron Paris, Dylan Moore, Christian Campbell, Gabriel Arias, and Gleyber Torres.
How's that even possible?
Those are your top 5 AL second basemen right now.
I'd take Gleyber in a second right now over Marcus Semien.
Yeah. Andres Jimenez 6th. I take him. Lennon Sosa is next. Lennon Sosa hitting 271.
301 on base.
Playing every day for the White Sox. I can't do it. Can't take it.
I can't. And also still though, when you do minimum 40 play appearances, every single second baseman in the American League, the last player still by weighted runs created plus is Marcus Semien.
It's Marcus Semien. Yes,
it is Marcus Semien. Yeah, it's terrible.
That is true.
What a bad state of affairs.
Speaking of players off to rough starts, Rusty wants to know thoughts on Tristan Kas, Riley Green, really testing my patience. So I blurbed Tristan Kas this morning because I was on the morning shift and he is moved down to 7th in the Red Sox lineup. So I just pointed out a couple things. Tristan Kas coming into the game today has a career OPS of 800. He has been a solid major league hitter in his career for the months of March and April, even though, it's listed as 1 month on Fangraphs because we get like 2 days in March, whatever. His career in the first month of the season, he's hitting 182, 291, 356 with a 28% strikeout rate.
What?
He missed May and a lot of June from last year, so it's hard to give him career numbers in May. From June on, in his career, he hits 268, 377, 515. He has a near 10% barrel rate on the year, career high fly ball rate, 80% zone contact rate. To me, this is a guy who typically starts slow, whose swing rate has jumped up because the criticism on him was he's too passive and he lets too many hittable pitches go. And so now he's being more aggressive and swinging more, and the results are not there. His swinging strike rate is up. He's popping up a lot more things. I see a young guy. I think he just turned 25. I see a young hitter with a strong MLB track record who is a notorious slow starter anyway, who's also adjusting to a different hitting strategy, hitting approach, and is struggling to find out how to calibrate between being too selective versus being overly aggressive and whatever. Now, might he struggle for another month? Sure. And if you're in a shallow league and you want to move on from him, I get it. I just think the batted ball quality, the fact that he's struggling this hard and has a 10% barrel rate and is making 80% zone contact and things like that, I think we're going to see the strong stretch come again. But I get in a 10 or 12 team league, you might not be able to wait on that, and that's fine. But in deeper formats or like OPS, OBP formats, I think you're waiting because I think he will get going as he typically does.
The other thing working against Casas a bit here is just how many other first basemen have emerged this season.
Yeah.
Like we're at a spot where you've held on to Casas through this first couple of weeks, and you have missed the chance on Soderstrom. You've missed the chance on Torkelson. Probably missed the chance on Ben Rice. I mean, right now you could be in the process of missing a chance of Jonathan Aranda, and Aranda, similar to Casas, is not starting against left-handed pitchers. Like they're in the same boat right now. So it's like at this point, where Casas was heading into the season was like top 8 first baseman. You kind of wanted him there. Like him and Pasquantino were kind of hilariously and like Berger around that tier together. All of them are stinking, and we're at the spot where probably all of those guys have gotten passed by the at least the first 2 guys I just mentioned. So then it's like how many teams are in your league, and how good is Casas compared to every other first baseman? Because like again, if you're in a 10-team league, he's borderline a top 10 guy. Even if he hits on his career norms, and he gets to the 800 OPS and winds up with 27 homers and 88 RBIs this season, probably 10 first basemen that were more productive than that. It's just that you're getting to these early season situations where the opportunity cost is losing out on someone who could be significantly better. And I think that's a hard thing to evaluate and figure out who that next guy is, because those guys predominantly go for earlier in the season faster. Like you might have one more shot with Nick Kurtz, and then it's kind of curtains on those guys that could be better long term. So long
maybe like Caglione.
Yeah, he's got a 270 on base percentage in Double A. Like I don't know, like he hits the ball really hard, but he's gonna hit it that much. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's just your Casas is working against him that he's already being platooned. Now he's being dropped in the order. He is struggling. He's clearly trying something new, and it's clearly not really working. Does he stick with that? Do you stick with it? He'd be a frustrating player right now to be figuring out what to do with. I don't really.
Yeah, and I have him in a few leagues where it is frustrating. Where in leagues where I was able to get Ben Rice, even like Nolan Shanuel, I've benched Casas in some spots. I will say in the defense of him too, the Red Sox don't have another first baseman. No. Like I get that move Devers to first, sure. And maybe they do by July, August, next year, whatever. Right now, Devers is not playing first base. He's not taking any reps at first base. He's not practicing at first base. Nothing he's doing is indicating that he's moving to first base. So he is not moving to first base anytime soon. He could move to first base later on, and that could be a threat to Casas. But right now, there is no other threat to Casas. So he is going to get runway, and he's going to play. Also, the Red Sox need to figure out if they're offering him an extension or not. So they're running him out there. They're going to play him because they need to make a decision on, does he fit the long-term build, the long-term plan for them? Or do they actually go into 2026 and say, hey, Devers, you're our first baseman now. And now we don't care if that blocks Tristan Casas because we don't actually envision him being a part of our plan anymore.
But still, for them, it's prudent to see this out. Like that, he's so young and he's had such good of a track record, especially in the upper minors and what he's done. But it just seems like this was like a big change happening at once, and it's hard to evaluate. With Riley Green, it's almost a little bit scarier. While I'm still like confident overall and just the ability, the athleticism, the bat speed's still there. He's swinging and missing so much more than he did last year. He's chasing so much more than he was last year.
Yeah.
This to me looks like a player that feels like he wants to become something that he might not be ready to be yet. Kind of tie this whole Tigers lineup together, like be a piece that's gonna like, help them move on a step. They got close last year. Like the Tigers tasted forbidden fruit last year, and they might not have even deserved to do so. And now it seems like someone like Green, it looks horrible. And he's not even being pitched differently. He's not seeing pitches in different locations. He's not seeing a different percentage of the pitches, really. It's just swinging and missing. It's expanding his zones, falling behind. It's someone that he winds up 1-2-0-2 and half of these at bats. More than that, it's very hard to be a successful hitter, especially one like Riley Green is a bit of a free swimmer anyway. Kind of gets by more so on athleticism than anything else to dig yourself out of a hole this deep.
The good news for him, similar to Casas, is there's nobody else.
Absolutely not. No.
With Parker Metters out, with Wenzel Perez out, with Matt Vierling out, like there is nobody else. So Riley Green's going to get a long leash to figure this out. And if he's not better by the time like Parker Meadows is back, and Wenzel Perez is back, then maybe they send him down. But like, I don't
think there's any way. He's on like a 900 plate appearance, 1,000 plate appearance streak of an 800 OPS. Like this is like we were talking about earlier in the show, where it's like players with these profiles are just going to be so much more prone to these cold streaks and like kind of let these things topple over themselves. Because Riley Green's not a patient hitter. He swings and misses a lot before this, and now that's worse. He doesn't have the walks or the consistent contact to drag him out and like keep his spirits up and keep the stat line in check. And it just looks like a free fall. Like this looks like a lot like what the Michael Harris situation gets to be like, where you're swinging at everything. Like maybe you're going to hit it, but a lot of times you're just not. And now, I just don't know how you get like do the little things consistently enough to not let these happen. Because this could happen to Riley Green easily in June, but he already has 8 home runs, and he already has like a 280 batting average. You don't really know this, but happening out of the gate, it looks scary, but it's probably a cold streak that he's prone to 1 or 2 of these a year. Just the timing of it makes it worse.
Yeah, I agree on that. Interesting trade offer for you. Nick Kurtz for Jung Ho Lee and Jonathan Aranda. We're going to assume this is a redraft. Yeah. That's how we're going to operate. What side do you prefer there?
Redraft league, it's Ho Lee and Aranda. I think easily. Like Kurtz isn't in the major leagues yet. I think he will be soon.
I think you're operating under the assumption, or people are operating under the assumption, he's up by May.
It's imminent, yeah. I don't know, but that's like right now. Right, there's even a chance that I think Kurtz probably. Does he play every single day? Does Kurtz play every single day when he comes up? He has to, right?
I think he might sit versus a lefty here or there, but not to sit versus lefties. But it's like, sure, you're going to give a guy a day off here or there. Like, let's just do it against a lefty just because. So yeah, I think I take the Jung Ho Lee and Jonathan Aranda side as well. I think that both Jung Ho Lee and Jonathan Aranda are going to regress from their current levels, but I don't think that means they're going to be bad. I think that means they're not going to be off to these otherworldly starts. Jonathan Aranda was a trendy late pick coming into this year because of the batted ball quality he showed last year. Now he's showing that batted ball quality and playing in a minor league park and lifting the ball more. And I will say, like, he's the one playing first base. Yandy Diaz is DHing.
Yes.
And the Rays don't look good. And so in June, Yandy Diaz's name is going to come up in a lot more trade rumors.
Tons.
And so I think Aranda is the first baseman on this team right now, at least until Trey Morgan or Xavier Isaac or whoever come up. And that's not going to be till next year.
It might not even be for multiple years because the Rays, a lot of these other small market teams, they, I think, are trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not incentivize. They're trying to really like manicure the way they're calling these prospects up. The Orioles are so guilty of this. We're like, if we get you for 6 years, we want to make sure it's the best 6 years of your career. Like, if we're losing you in free agency, we don't want to lose any of your prime. So a guy like Aranda, they don't start his clock till he's 24. They don't give him a full-time job till he's 26. Like, we got you till 31. Have fun. Thank you. Hope you make $30 million in your free agent in your early 30s as a slow first baseman. Like, so right now, this is the peak Jonathan Aranda season. I think the Rays did that incredibly intentionally, and this is something that we keep seeing from these lower market teams, which is funny because like the heat right now and Nick Kurtz is high, but I think he's good enough where that's going to happen. It's such a high draft pick, but this is the best. This is probably the best Aranda ever plays. I think the Rays are excited that it's happening when he's still so much team control for $700,000 that he's making on the minimum. But he's awesome. Lee's awesome. Like Just everything in their profile says they'll continue to at least be quite good, even if not like the MVP caliber players they've been through almost a month. But this is, I want the guys producing right now instead of the guy who I don't know. He's never faced a major league pitch.
Right, I agree. Landon Rupper, Bowden Francis.
Roop. I want Roop all the way. I love Roop.
Yeah.
I'm so in on Roop right now. It's Roop.
Is it Roop?
It's 100% from the pronunciation guy. It's Roop.
Perfect. Love it. So Roop. It's Roop for me as well.
Yeah.
I was in on him in spring training in the Birdsong versus Roop, like who's going to win the SP5 battle. And I like the new cutter, which I guess was like kind of the old slider, but whatever. I like the new cutter. He morphed the change into a kick change. I like the changes that he made. And so, yeah, I mean, I understand that, like, pitching really well against the Angels, doesn't make people think that you're legit, but like, yeah. I think that he's legit.
So, I mean, almost no one in the league's missing more bats than Roop is right now. And like, walks are always going to be an issue with him as such a distinctively east-west kind of guy. But his curveball, which because he's such a low slot and is a side armor, kind of acts just more like an exaggerated sweeper. And it's obscene. Like right now, he's getting almost 65% whiffs against right-handed batters and 40% against lefties. Like it's crazy what he's doing with those pitches. Second time around the league, it might get a little more difficult because he is so strange. Like he is such an outlier in terms of movement and slot and everything. But I don't know, that team's also a great team to pitch for. Great defense, great park. Like I'm really, really in on Roop right now. I'm excited about him.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him where I can as well.
Yeah.
Dad wants to know, is Grayson Rodriguez a safe drop in redraft?
Yeah.
My personal thought is if you have the IL spot and nobody is knocking down the door, like you don't need to fill the IL spot, you can hold on for a couple, like probably another week or two until we find out the results of this second opinion. I think he's done for the year. That's my feeling, but we don't know that for sure. And so if I had an IL spot, I would maybe just hold on to it for another week or two and see.
Yeah, I finally dumped in him. TGFBI this weekend. We're just like, this looks bad. I can't hold you in a 15-team league where I don't have a spot. And it seems bad. I mean, also it's easy to forget how deep and extensive Grayson Rodriguez injury history is, especially that, I think it was the shoulder 2 years ago when he was in the upper minors. It doesn't look good. Now the Orioles team looks like they could be in for a bad time with that rotation. Charlie Morton looks horrendous. Povich is fine, but Sugano's fine. I don't know.
But also, is Cade Povich fine?
In terms of like a 4-star, he's fine. He can get guys out. Like I think he's capable. I don't know. There's no upside on it, I don't think. But like I can't even conceive what those guys were thinking between the months of November and February to have let this happen the way it's happened.
Yeah,
Michael Elias, they interviewed Michael Elias, and he was like, "Yeah, we just didn't really expect all these guys to be out at the same time." And it's like, why? You're a general manager. You're not planning for this, like just in case.
I heard Eno Saris talk about that on Rates and Barrels too, and it's just like you're an MLB GM and you haven't decided you haven't planned to go at least 7 deep in your starting rotation. Like, what are you doing? Like, even the Red Sox were in a rough spot, but having Richard Fitz, even having Sean Newcomb,
Hunter Dobbins, dude, he's
Hunter Dobbins. Yeah,
he's
Hunter Dobbins is the reason they traded Quinn Priester because they were like, all right, well, if Dobbins is ahead of Priester,
good point.
Then we could trade Priester. And so it's like you have to assume you're going to use at least 8 starting pitchers in a season, like at minimum. I just don't get it.
Even possibly more, especially for a team like the Orioles that like you're coming off 2 incredible regular seasons with 2 super disappointing playoff ousters. And now you're like, let's just downgrade our rotation and not make any more meaningful upgrades anywhere else, not trade any of the prospects. Again, similarly, they're letting all these guys get to be 25, 26 years old before they even play them because they want to make sure they manicure the primes on the team. Kobe Mayo is thawing out in AAA. He's like, he himself has went to the media and was like, I don't get it. And like, it makes sense. Jackson Holliday's the one guy that gets the call and he's still struggling again. The one guy they probably should have actually let marinate a little bit more. They were like my kind of sneaky pick this year. I think to be bad, be clean miss the playoffs, could be under 500. I probably did that in like my ball predictions going into the season, but they look horrific and it's killing the vibe of the team. It's killing the mentality. Like, how would you as a player get up the same way every single day?
How do the Milwaukee Brewers lose their starting pitchers and they decide, you know what, we're going to trade our 7th ranked prospect and a competitive balanced pick, which is going to be like the 36th overall pick in the draft, to get Quinn Priester, and the Orioles can't make a trade for any others. They can't make a trade for a starting pitcher. Why do the Brewers have more urgency to add a starter right now than the Orioles do? I don't. And maybe they do. Maybe they're calling around and nobody is biting. That could entirely be the case. But it feels like you should be. It feels like you should be trying to
urgency
to win right now. I just don't get it.
I think what you described is exactly why they won't. I think Mike Elias is such like a prim and proper executive where he's like, I won't go off my value sheet. Where the Brewers, I'm sure Mike Elias like scoffed at this, was like, this is why we can't trade for a pitcher, because they got a guy who's like maybe the 80th best pitcher in the league, maybe an okay for again like a low, a very young prospect with high potential, and something's gonna be the top 40 pick in the draft. That's why the Orioles are probably like, we can't make that trade. We're gonna lose value any pitcher trade we make. Where at the end of the day, it's like, well, if you just don't have one, then who's really losing the value here? Like that's
right. Yeah, your whole team is losing the value.
Yeah, it's like not understanding the market versus like not understanding player values. So I'm sure Mike Elias understands player values really well, but seems like the market is where he's been missing.
Yeah, and maybe they need to bring in somebody who does understand the market a little bit.
Something, anything.
Another injured pitcher, Prince Disney Fan TV asks, how long is Yu Darvish going to be out? We blurbed this weekend that he is set to begin higher intensity bullpen sessions. That's the latest update we have. So Yu Darvish is going to begin higher intensity bullpen sessions. He then has to ramp up the bullpen sessions. Then the bullpen sessions have to turn into live batting practice, and then that has to turn into rehab starts, and then that has to then progress to MLB games. So I don't think you're definitely not seeing him before June. And I'm guessing the mid to late part of June. And so I've dropped him in a few places already because like mid to late June is also when you might see Yuri Perez back. It's also when you might see Shane Bieber back. Like if we're now getting into like late June, July with Yu Darvish, you're now stacking him up against a few guys coming back from injuries that have the potential to be way higher upside than Yu Darvish. And that's not a knock on Yu Darvish. I drafted him in a few places before he got hurt, and I like him, and I think he'll be totally fine. I just don't think he's a guy you need to hold if he's going to be out for at least another 2 months.
No, we always have to recalibrate with where these player values are as they continue to age and deal with more and more injuries. And Darvish, even during draft season when he was healthy, was kind of more of like a draft and hold target than any kind of redraft guy, because you're like, what do I want here? 130 innings with a 3.70 ERA and like maybe a strikeout per, like that's who Darvish is at this point. It's like it's going to be really similar when Kershaw comes back in a month, where it's like it's like 2017 Clint Kershaw's not walking through that door. 2021 Yu Darvish isn't even walking through that door anymore. So just recalibrating and understanding where these players' actual ceilings are and if that's worth holding them through all this time. It's all about your league context.
Points league corner for you, James. Dylan wants to know, in a points league, is it crazy for him to start Aranda over Paul Goldschmidt in a week where Aranda has one left-handed pitcher on the docket, so we know he's going to get at least one less game than Goldschmidt?
Yeah, I think one's a great spot to be. I think if you told me two, now you start to really thinking about it. I know Goldschmidt has been highly productive this season, especially hitting in the top of that lineup, but still not really in a power sense. Like Goldschmidt right now is kind of, I'm not gonna call him like a slap hitter, but it's the one homer this year hitting leadoff is not, there's not a lot of run production happening from Paul Goldschmidt. I think in a week like this, you probably want Aranda there instead, because even when they face a lefty, he's coming into pinch hitting when the righty's on the mound. So you're still getting an at bat possibly too late in the game from Jonathan Aranda. I think that, again, if he's missing 2 games, tip scales toward Goldschmidt. 1 game, I'm tipping the scales back to Aranda.
I like that. You're the expert in the points league formats, so I take your word on that. Where was the question I was looking for? Oh, here it is. With Vinnie P having a relatively mediocre 2024 and a putrid start to 2025, is he at risk of being the weak side of a Jack Caglione, Salvi Perez, Vinnie P first base DH platoon? Salvi also having a terrible start to the season. And as James pointed out, Jack Caglione not exactly tearing up Double A. Do you have any concerns about Vinnie P maybe for like the second half of the year, 2026? Do you have concerns about where he goes from here?
I think definitely, because it was always a bit of a strange profile to begin with, hyper the hyper contact first baseman with just okay power. I still always thought like the way that he was pulling and lifting it, there was legit power upside on him. I still think the Royals trust. I really think that if they do call up Caglianone, there's so many other dead spots in this lineup. They're not going to squeeze him in at first base for Vinnie P, one of the few guys this team who actually still projects well. And Caglianone actually had a huge last 2 days in Double-A. He got the on base percentage from 270 to 330, so his WRC plus jumped to about 35 points. So again, he's still an above average hitter, but I think they're going to need to see more from him in the minors. But again, if he comes up, and he did this a bit in the college, I think they try. I mean, I know he hasn't done it in the minor league yet, so I guess they won't. But like, I wonder if they'll just like him, who's an okay athlete, just try and figure out the corner outfield because they need help everywhere. It's not like they just need help at first base. It's not like Vinnie P right now is the one thing the Royals lineup can look at and circle, be like, that's why we're not scoring more runs. Our first baseman has been below average. It's probably the combination of, Drew Waters in center field, Hunter Renfroe is 390 OPS. Like that's kind of the issue. But Mark Canha is now the cleanup hitter. Just picked them off the scrap heap, basically. Like they have a lot of issues in this lineup that don't exactly end with Pasquantino. But there is concern that they've moved Pasquantino low in the order, and now he's DHing sometimes and still not hitting. He's kind of the more extreme version of Casas, where it's like, what's the ceiling you're holding on to at this point, Vinny Pasquantino? Like, why?
Yeah.
There's almost no way I see him as a top 10 first baseman by the end of the season anymore, which kind of is a decent fall from where he was in draft season, but it's also not a tremendous one, considering the guys who've jumped ahead of him.
Yeah. Dylan also wants to know, between Luis L. Ortiz, Osvaldo Pito, and JT Ginn, they're valuable in his format because they have SPRP designation. Which one is the first drop if a hot name surfaces on the wire? For me, it's JT Ginn. I always do that. If a hot name surfaces, he's the first one to go for me.
Yeah, I like Ginn. Ginn's throwing harder. He's striking guys out, and he's getting ground balls. Like being able to marry what could be an elite ground ball rate and above average strikeout rate is very hard to lose value quickly if that's the case, if everything holds here. I'd also like Ortiz. Another great start against a bad team, but that color's nasty. I'm excited to watch his game against the Yankees. I think that's Wednesday night. Like that's going to be one this week where I'm like, things could change a lot for Luis L. Ortiz rest of the season if he strikes out 8 Yankees and gives up 2 runs in 6 innings.
Agreed. So is Beto your low man there?
I think easily. Park is rough. It's been pretty inconsistent command wise. It's funny because I probably wouldn't even have said that even 2 weeks ago, but probably getting Ortiz Beto at this point.
Okay. Good to know. Cow Chat asks, in a dynasty league, which side do you prefer? Riley Green, Spencer Steer, and Jazz Hit Chisum, or Jung-Hoo Lee and James Wood? It's the James Wood side.
James Wood. Doesn't matter.
I get that Jazz is kind of a star and James Wood is kind of a star, but to me, James Wood is far and away the best player in that deal in a dynasty league, and so that's the side I'm taking.
Well, there's no kind of a James Wood. He's a star. The guy's a freak of nature. He's insane.
Well, I know some people think that Jazz Chisholm is a star or whatever.
Jazz could be star adjacent too, for sure, but like
Wood, star adjacent.
Yeah, Wood's like, oh my, watching him play baseball, you're like, wow. Like a rival broadcast like gawk at James Wood in the batter's box. Like he looks like he's that impressive right now.
Yes, they do. We're talking prospects. Dad wants to know, outside of Nick Kurtz, who are some mustache prospects? I look up a little bit on the AAA leaderboard. First, I will say, obviously, the other name that pops is Roman Anthony. Yes. Roman Anthony is a mustache prospect because he's the number 1 prospect in baseball, and he has a 945 OPS at AAA, and because Cedar Rafaela is not really producing at the major league level. I mean, great defense.
Yeah.
And he is not chasing as much, which is great. And so the strikeout rate is good, but the problem is he still swings and misses all the time. And so I think that Rafaela has the potential to be just a pretty solid super utility who can come in as a defensive replacement, pinch runner, play around the field. There's only a couple more weeks before he's going to lose his job hitting like this, and they're going to move Duran to center field and Anthony to left field.
Yeah, Super 2 is coming too in like 3 more weeks, and that's going to be a time when we probably get some of these guys called up.
Yeah. It's funny, the next like really top prospect who's crushing it at AAA, Moises Ballesteros has a 1,029 OPS at AAA, just a 13% strikeout rate as a 21-year-old. But the Cubs offense is kind of stacked, and I don't really know when they would call him up, but he's like certainly performing really well at AAA.
Yeah, I don't think
he would be the. It's tough though.
I don't think the Cubs expected Carson Kelly to turn into Mike Piazza. So
exactly.
That's the issue. Yeah.
And and that's the other thing. By July, he may no longer be.
Yes.
And Miguel Amaya may no longer be somebody who needs to be started. And then if Moises Ballesteros is doing this by July, still as a 21-year-old, maybe you say, oh, okay, we gotta just give him a shot.
I think the other guy that's probably the only one that I wouldn't say is worth stashing, especially with Kurtz and Anthony just being very obvious, and with a rash of promotions this past weekend with guys who were more middling but still pretty good. Also, like we talked last week about Agustin Ramirez. No way he gets called up and immediately gets called up a week later. But the one guy who can do something who might be worth is Jordan Lawler. I just well, similar to Carson Kelly. Like I don't think the Diamondbacks expected Geraldo Perdomo to turn into A-Rod through the first month of the season. Like the way he's hitting right now, he's not coming out of the lineup. And we thought there was going to be some experimentation with him at second base. It hasn't happened yet in the major league level. And then past him, Juan Brito is hitting, and the Guardians can always use an extra bat. I'm sure he gets a shot this year, but I don't think he's worth stashing. The same goes for Alex Freeland of the Dodgers. It was kind of be more like it's like a Trey Sweeney situation to me.
I know. I was just looking at that, and I was like, this dude had 18 homers and 31 steals last year. He's striking out more this year, but he's making really solid contact. He's 23.
Yeah.
Like he played the whole ascent. He played, actually only played 40 games at AAA last year, but he already played at AAA. Like, I don't know, man. The Dodgers have no need to force a 23-year-old into their lineup, but he looks good and has been playing well. And, you know, they can move Mookie Betts anywhere else. Like he doesn't need to be their shortstop. They can move him to second. They can move him back to the outfield. Andy Pages does not look good in center field. This might be the end for Max Muncy. So like there are
Chris Taylor.
Right. There are places to move guys around. Another guy who's not really like a prospect, but Luis Camposano is only 26 years old and he's destroying AAA, and Elias Diaz is not destroying major league pitching. And so like in two catcher formats, Camposano could come back up again and get another shot. Jorbit Vivas looks really good for the Yankees in AAA. He's been playing third base. Oswaldo Cabrera is playing well enough for the Yankees that he's not going to lose his job right now, but he's not like exceptional. And I don't think Jorbit Vivas is exceptional either, but there's a chance that he pushes for a starting job with the Yankees at some point, and that's a lineup that you certainly want exposure to. Another guy who's not a prospect, but Brett Harris. We saw him debut with the A's last year, and it didn't go so well. But he's hitting 373 with a 1,086 OPS. The A's are starting Gio Urshela at third base. The A's are going to play their summer in a minor league ballpark that's going to be like 90 degrees every day.
100.
And so if Brett Harris gets a shot in deeper formats, that could be like a little bit interesting to me. But that's kind of it. And then obviously like the pitcher side.
Also, High-Side Kim, Dodgers too. Everything we're talking about Freeland as
well.
well.
Though he's hitting just like 250 right now, I think.
He is, but I think it's with 5 homers and 4 steals. And with like the athleticism that Dodgers team sorely lacks. But yeah, pitchers more obvious. That'd be Matthews, Bubba Chandler than the rest.
Yeah. And Cow Chad asked about Cade Horton, which is an interesting question because the Cubs kind of need him.
Yeah.
I think that they have Colin Ray. They have Javier Assad coming off the IL. They have Chris Flexen pitching well at AAA. So they could do the veteran dance for a little bit, especially while Ben Brown has yet to flounder. I don't think Ben Brown is a starter. I think it's only a matter of time before he's back in the bullpen. His start against the Dodgers, he threw fastballs down the middle of the plate, had a 5% swinging strike rate on his fastball, and it just got pop-ups and stuff. I just don't see that lasting. And so I think that Cade Horton probably isn't coming up before like July. But I think he could be in that rotation at some point for the second half of the year. And so, yeah, I agree with you that it's Zebby Matthews and Bubba Chandler are at the top. Like Carson Wisenhunt looks really good in AAA for the Giants.
Really good.
I don't know if Birdsong is a starter. They've kind of moved him to the pen. Like if they move Jordan Hicks out of the rotation, could they let Birdsong start?
I think it would be Birdsong because I see he's doing the same thing that the Mets are doing with Max Kranick a little bit right now, where it's like throw 30 pitches. Just make sure. So if we need just wind up stretching you out to 50, it won't exactly be a horrible thing. But I think those guys, I don't know. The Giants rotation is a little too crowded, where the Twins rotation, the Pirates rotation, and the Cubs rotation, as we just mentioned, have very large, gaping, wide openings, where it's like at some point these are going to happen. I know I've heard Lance Brzezowski talk on Twitter and with and DVR at Rates and Barrels that the Cubs are going to be like closely monitoring Horton's workload this year. So it's a similar thing to Andrew Painter in the Phillies, where they know kind of when to start the clock, so they can make sure they have through September and October. And I think that's going to happen with both of those guys. So it's a think about stashing, but June 1st is when you want to stash those guys.
The Giants also have Carson Seymour, who's 26 years old, absolutely crushing at AAA. Like they've got a lot of guys at AAA dominating. I'll put another guy on the radar, AJ Bluebaugh. AJ Bluebaugh, who has only thrown 18 innings for the Astros in AAA, but has thrown 18 tremendous innings. They're starting Ryan Gusto in their rotation because they're planning to bring back Lance McCullers. I think we all know at this point in time not to trust a lot of innings from Lance McCullers. So AJ Bluebaugh is somebody who could actually get a shot at some point. Ian Seymour is a prospect of note in Tampa Bay. I think Joe Boyle gets the next shot when Tampa Bay needs a starter, but they're going to be trading off assets, and Ian Seymour could get a chance at some point. And then I'll just also, I know the Red Sox are getting Brian Bayo back. I know that Lucas Giolito is set to come back, and Hunter Dobbins has pitched well. Shane Drohan is somebody who was really good for them 2 years ago, lefty, before he was Rule 5 picked by the White Sox, and then he came back. He's also looked really good in 4 AAA starts, has just a 0.96 ERA and a 38% strikeout rate in 4 AAA starts. And he's somebody who, anytime you're getting guys who could be pretty good starters for like the Yankees, the Astros, the Red Sox, the Mets, it's like, okay, those guys go on the radar. Like Blade Tidwell struck out 9 in 4 1/3 yesterday. And it's like, I don't know when he gets a shot, but he has been an interesting prospect for the Mets before. And that's a deep rotation now, but like, could he, if they have injuries in July, does he get a shot? It's possible.
He probably is more so in the camp of getting a shot sooner rather than later, just because I just don't know if he's worth stashing. Blade has done a lot to improve his stuff over the last year. Cover the Mets. I know everything too much about Blade Tidwell, but the Mets have these openings while Montas and Minaya are still out. And those guys are due back early June. So there's like a 6-week window where I could see Sproat or Tidwell getting a spot start or 2. I'm not sure if it would be enough to hold unless they white knuckle it, prove they can't go back down. Because Tidwell, he's got a fastball, he's got a sinker, he's got a curveball, he's got a slider, like he has changeup. He has a mix of a lot of things, and everything is like just about average or slightly bit above. So it can work definitely as like a deep repertoire guy. I just don't know. It'd be hard for me to imagine those strikeouts carrying over to the major leagues. And Sproat's not even a guy striking out guys AAA right now, so I don't know what his fantasy upside is in the near term either. But that's kind of
the Mets guys are. I mean, Montas, Peterson, McGill, not pictures of health. Canning has struggled with consistency, so those spots could be open for Sprout or Tidwell. Not like for sure, but they could have openings.
They'll both pitch in the major leagues this year. I just don't know how long, what kind of role. David Stearns loves to do this with prospect pitchers, where it's like, here's 2 times around the lineup. Like these guys will do the Festa, and like you're not stashing for a 4-inning start.
Nobody likes the Festa. No. I mean, we would like Festa, but nobody likes the Festa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's going to do it for us today. We're going to go watch the end of this game. We are here every Monday at noon, the Rotoworld Player News Q&A. Make sure you have the Player News page on Rotoworld just bookmarked open. We're updating it constantly. Super important for Mondays to check, all the news that comes out, the transactions, the lineups, all that kind of stuff. James has his waiver wire column coming out on Tuesday. Yep.
Yeah, Tuesday
over on Rotoworld, NBC Sports.
And Stolen Base recap on Wednesdays.
Stolen base recap on Wednesdays. That's awesome. James looks at the whole stolen base landscape, not just within the league, but what teams are getting targeted, what catchers are getting targeted, pitchers, etc. So that can help you maximize your stolen bases. My starting pitcher news article will come out on Wednesday as well. And then my weekly waiver wire column is out on Sunday. So we've got all the content for you, and we'll be here again next Monday on the Rotoworld Player News page. So we will check you then.